We're going to talk about the 4 levels of financial control. Where are you playing? You could be the consumer, saver, investor, or owner. And how IBC accelerates you to move to owner, right? As a lot of you know, we have a new book coming out called Owner Shift. And it's all about in your mind, in your behavior, in your identity, in your environment, being the owner, not the consumer. And this is the simplest, most accurate map of your financial life. There are 4 levels, 4 identities, 4 completely different outcomes. And so most people don't know where they actually are on this ladder. They have no idea, once they figure out where they are, how to move up, right? So we're going to talk about that. IBC is the only tool that accelerates the jump from investor to owner without Wall Street control, without counterparty risk, and without giving up liquidity. So today we're going to expose the trap at every stage and show you exactly how to move to the top. So let's start with consumer. This is where 90% of Americans live. The consumer's money flows away from them. The moment they earn it, it flows away from them. And they think that the solution is to slow down the flow or increase the input, but it's not. And they think to themselves, I spend first, I hope second, I worry always. And the consumer trap is debt, lifestyle creep, no capital, no margin, no control. Every decision is emotional. I know you've felt this before. Every emergency becomes catastrophic. Every dollar is spoken for before it even arrives in our checking account. And consumers don't build wealth, they fund other people's wealth. I don't want to. You're financing banks, car companies, credit cards, retailers, everyone except for you, yourself. You're not financing yourself. There's no path to freedom on this road, no path to freedom at this level. You must evolve. If you're there, this is an emergency. We got to stop. So then you think, well, I move on to the next level. Saver. Okay, the saver thinks they're solved the problem because they stopped leaking money. Hey, really proud of myself. I'm saving money. Dave Ramsey. Don't take your wife or your partner out to, or husband or partner or whoever, to dinner. If you're going to spend $300 on dinner, they build a pile. They think it's about accumulation. They feel disciplined. They feel empowered inside, but they're not. This is better than being a consumer, but it's still not real control, and it's in captivity. You are a slave and captive to that savings plan. Dave Ramsey builds slaves. We free slaves. Okay, so the saver identity. I store capital to protect a pile. Does it even make sense? Does that even sound right? The saver trap is you become dependent on the pile. You fear losing the pile. You outsource the pile to banks and pay you close to zero. Or Wall Street accounts where one bad year can wipe out 5 good ones. Savers feel responsible, but they're not in charge. Whoever controls the money makes the money, and they're not. They're still reacting, not creating. And here's the truth. You cannot save your way to wealth. You must move again. Now you're in that investor mode. This is where financially successful people stall out. They stall out. Investors learn language of returns, risk, diversification, assets, cash flow, ROI, ROR, right? They learn these things. They feel smarter than consumers and savers. And they are, but they still fall into the trap. Here's the investor trap. Investors outsource control. I have equity with JP Morgan and blah, 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 blah. That's only for people with over $1 million of investable assets with they feel arrogant about it, but they've outsourced control. Whoever controls the money makes the money. I'm going to say that over and over again. They give their capital to someone else. JP Morgan, private equity. It's like, are you serious? I mean, like, say it out loud, see if it still makes sense. They rely on market cycles, fund managers, algorithms, the Fed, geopolitical stability. Their identity becomes, I chase returns and I hope the system works. In fact, the investor is active, but not in control. And most people never break out of this stage because it feels responsible. It feels adult. It feels sophisticated, but it's not freedom. There's one more level: the owner. Own your life. This is where true wealth begins. This is where every wealthy family eventually ends up. This is where the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Morgans, modern day billionaires build generational structures. Owners don't chase returns, they create return. They own cash flowing assets, they own systems, they own distribution, they own the banking function, number one. An owner identity, when I think of it, like for me, I control capital. Capital multiplies because I direct it. Now, think about that, the difference between that and an investor, giving it to somebody you think is smarter than you about investing. Owners understand one rule that the other three levels ignore. Control is more important than rate of return. I'm going to say it again. Control is more important than rate of return. Owners get wealthy because they own the process, not the product. That's the top of the ladder. But here's the key. IBC is the only financial system that accelerates the leap from investor to owner. And I'm going to explain why. But I want that to sink in. IBC is the only financial system that accelerates the leap from investor to owner. So how does it do that? How do you move to owner with IBC? How does it accelerate it? Because it gives you pure liquidity. Owners need liquidity. Control requires flexibility. When the right deal shows up, owners can move fast. Consumers can. Savers hesitate. Investors need permission. Owners with IBC execute immediately. IBC, number two, IBC returns control of financing, the financing system to you. Owners don't borrow from banks if they can avoid it. They borrow from their pools of capital that they control. That is the owner identity, is the owner of the bank versus the customer of the bank. IBC restores the banking function to the household that accelerates ownership. IBC restores banking function to the household, to the you and me level, as Nelson would say. That accelerates ownership. IBC creates a predictable compounding base. That's the owner's warehouse. If you haven't read Nelson's Warehouse of Wealth, and you should. What is it? That's not the name of the book, but if you just look up Nelson Nash Warehouse of Wealth, but you can't build an empire on unstable ground. IBC is your stability. It's your cornerstone. The policy is the warehouse where your capital compounds and resides, not Wall Street. By warehousing your money there so that you can utilize it and put it in motion, no matter what interest rates do, no matter who's in the office, no matter the timing of some investment, owners build on certainty, not hope. And IBC reduces risk by separating the growth engine from the investment engine. And let me explain. Savers and investors mix the two. Owners separate them. Your policy grows safely and predictably on this side of the ledger. And on the other side of the ledger, your external investments create cash flow. They never compete. They support each other. They actually have codependence. You need both. And the last point, the fifth point, is IBC amplifies cash flow. And cash flow is the owner's language and cornerstone. Owners don't measure wealth by account balances. It doesn't matter what you're accumulating. They measure it by passive cash flow. If you had $1 million, $2 million of passive cash flow coming in every year, and it was going to outlast you, even when you graduate from this world, me at 120, next year with medical advancements, maybe 122. I might be halfway next year at 61. I know you can already see that coming. And so owners, they want cash flow, because if you had $2 million a year of cash flow coming in, and I said, you're never going to have anything in your balance in your investments, would you be okay with that? I think everyone in the audience is going to sign up for that, because again, I always say this, but my lifestyle is just not that fancy. I don't think I can spend $2 million a year. Okay, so IBC loans let you acquire cash flowing assets while your capital continues to compound uninterrupted, tax free. This is why the leap from investor to owner is suddenly possible. All right, so where are you playing? Here's the real challenge. Most people think that they're investors when they're actually savers. Most investors think they're in control when they have outsourced every decision. There very few people reach that owner level. Let's be honest, but not because they're not capable, because they don't have a system to control their cash flow. IBC is that system. If you're a consumer, IBC moves you to saver. If you're a saver, IBC moves you to investor. If you're an investor, IBC gives you the structure, liquidity, control to become an owner. So you were meant to own your capital. You were meant to direct the system. You were meant to be the banker. Everything in the Bible says that you are in control. You have free will. And if you control this banking function in your life, then you will control everything else in your life that's important when it comes to money. Okay. But I also believe that when you control money and how you build wealth, can you do the same thing with your health? Can you do the same thing emotionally, spiritually? Absolutely. Because now you know that you have to take control. If I identify as the owner, then I'm going to act like the owner. If I identify as the healthy, in shape, vital person, that's what you're going to be. Last night, my neighborhood had not my whole neighborhood, but just like the little section of my neighborhood, which is like 20 houses. My neighbor had a really cool, they have an amazing house. They had a cool little holiday party, Christmas party, right? And one of the guys that was there, he retired in 1995 or something like that, right? So think about that, 30 years. And he's 81 years old. He works out 3 days a week with a trainer. He plays basketball for 2 hours, 3 days a week. So that's 6 days a week or 6 exercise sessions that this guy's doing. And he goes like this to me. He goes, look at that. And he had muscle, man, at 81 years old. I was like, man, that's awesome. Congratulations, David. I'm impressed. I want to be like that when I'm 81, right? I still want to have abs when I'm 81. But we'll get there. Not we'll get there. I mean, we'll get there. Hopefully we'll get there to be 81, right? But I'm doing all the right things. So control. This guy is taking control of his vitality. Are you going to take control of your wealth and your health and your spirituality, your medical environment? It's about the environment. Create that positive owner environment and your identity will become an owner. So thank you for being patient with me. We're going to change the structure of this meeting just to promote more participation. And I know there Nathan and some other people out there, they want it to be more live because they can chime in. So, there's always a solution to every problem. So if I were going to record these every week and we were going to release them on Tuesday or Thursday and you want to chime in, well, guess what? Send me a little video of a question. Send me a little Loom or something. Or you know what? You want to come on with me and you get to ask some questions. We're going to do some podcast episodes like that, but we can do some lives like that. So I want you guys, this is your meeting. This is part of the community. Help me come up with something that we can record so that it's prepared. So there's no internet outages. There's no, whatever problems. And also where more people can listen to this and receive the benefit from the information. There's a core group, and you know who you are, that listens to this meeting. So I'm going to rely on you to help me come up with ways that we can record this every week so it'll be fresh. It's not going to be in the queue like the podcast or anything like that. But I need your help in coming up with a better format to get more participation because we need to serve more and more people. And we still need to serve those core people that I'm so grateful for that are on this meeting every week. And I want you to chime in. I actually love when you chime in. So let's solve this problem. And going forward, we'll do it. And, Nathan, I want you to be part of the first episode that we record. So I will get in touch with you and we will do it. And anybody else that wants to do it, send me a text, send me an email, whatever way you want to get a hold of me and say, I want to do that. Okay. And I hope I get a lot of texts and emails saying I want to do that. So thank you all. Godspeed. And you'll see the new format next week.